Hey guys, how's it going? Today I want to speak about the subject of what human rights should any human being have no matter what. Well, I do think that everybody has the right to have their own opinions. Everybody has the right to live their own life the way that they want to live. And they also have the right to live peacefully. Because we live in this world where all these different rules are taken into account. And we often have to abide to them. But what sucks is that the rules of one country are different from the rules of another. So you might be lucky and have been born or just simply live in a country where everything is hanky-dory and everything is working fine, but then you might also be born in a country where things are just bad and you're suffering all the time because of old laws, old beliefs, and there's just this whole thing that has been given to you in your education from a young age, and people are imposing this on you, and because you are born in that kind of society and this is what you've believed your whole life, you tend to start believing it too, which doesn't make it right. And then there's another thing too, is that I feel that as human beings we've created this society where buying property, buying food, all these things are super expensive. If you really think about it, a lot of people strive to own their own house or own their own condo and stuff like that, and to get an education, and they have to pay that over 30 years of their life or longer sometimes. And the problem with that is that it's cool, but should you live your whole life having to pay your debt? In the old days, not so long ago, if you actually had to build a house, had to have a property, have to have a home for yourself, you'd find an empty space. And of course, within the community that you were in, you were trying to build a sort of village or small city at the time, and you would basically just claim that land in some way and just build a place on it. Kind of like when you go camping, you put a tent on it. And that would be the hard part, was getting enough money or having to chop enough trees and stuff like that in order to build your own place. But now everything has been claimed a long time ago by X, Y, or Z. Whoever was here first and whoever put that tent first. And then sold later on by whoever had the money to buy that tent placement. And then we get into a ridicule society where prices are exorbitant. People have to rent out from other people. People suffer because of that. People literally don't have any means of having a place of their own, whereas it should just be simple. And we've just created, in some way, by our own selfishness, by our own want, this kind of society where basically there's just greed. And if you have money, it's simple. You just give that money and people give you stuff. It's very simple. Buying a Ferrari, buying a Lamborghini, buying a villa, whatever it is, it's simple in concept. If you have the money, you get it. You just buy it. So that's why a lot of times when you're a kid, you want to have things because your parents get you things and you're just so happy once you get them. But as an adult, you think, well, I make money. I can just buy those things, and when you buy something, when you get something, it doesn't make you happy in the same way. It's more about the experiences and all that stuff. I feel that spending time with loved ones and people you care about is much more enjoyable. So that's why it's very complicated, this whole money issue that we have in this society. But as human rights, I do think that people should be allowed to live in their own way. But if you're constrained by all this money, and you're constrained by all these laws, if you're constrained by all these things that are done basically by the wealthy in some way, well, you get stuck. And it kind of becomes like in these old castles where the king lives on top, then the villagers live in the bottom. And because of that, you basically are always a villager. You're given more rights, at least if you live in a Western country, or so you think. But then even a right to vote or whatever it is, it's not real true democracy when it's counted by state and it's not counted by numbers. Because there's only 50 states, but most people live in one. Well, how can you be democratic in that way? But that's why it's very difficult, because I feel that as a society nowadays, they're giving us just enough to not create a revolution, even though people protest. But even within the protest, there has to be order. But doesn't that go against the protest? So that's where things get a little bit iffy. But I do like the concept that they say that everyone should have a sort of universal income because of the whole robotics thing and automation and all that stuff. There's just going to be less and less jobs. But if you have a healthier society, if you have a healthier place to live in, if you have a more educated society, I do think that first of all, with education, more people will want to work. And even if they had that universal income, they might be more curious, because sometimes when you don't give that education to people, and you might think that you are getting that education, but it's not because there's public schools that you're getting a good education. It's just kind of like what the government tells the teachers, that you need to absolutely follow within the curriculum. And if a teacher strays upon that, then it's not good. But how do we know as a society if that curriculum that's being imposed, the things that are being imposed to our children, are actually the right knowledge? Is it pushed enough? Every country has a different curriculum. Every country has a different way of pushing children. But there's a reason why sometimes they say that some countries people are just amazing at math and other people are not amazing at math, or some people just have so much knowledge and other countries just don't. So they're living on the same earth. We're all human, and there's just as many probably smart people as from one country to the other. It's just a numbers game. So it's important to just educate, and important to have that universal income. It's important to be able to live in a peaceful society where if we have money that doesn't become exorbitant amounts of money, where you're basically living your whole life in debt, and then by the time you're either retired or on the brink of death, that's when all your expenses, everything you do, is paid for. But it should be able to be given to the next generation and stuff like that, so that we don't have all these debts, and that we can actually start living in peace and actually enjoy what this earth has to give to us. Okay, well, that's it. That's all I have to say. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.